Wow, we're here at last. You should know by now, but Team Ninja is a personal favorite of mine, being my number one dev team. So to get games by them each and every year, hit after hit, all becoming one of the top games of all time, well, I'm more than hyped to play it past the demos we've got up to this point. So now, it's finally that time of year again, we get to enjoy their next masterpiece. But first, this is Combat Overview. In this series, I go over the general controls, to the game's main mechanic or mechanics, who or what we use those tools on, and then seeing how it all comes together. Bit more in depth, but that's what we do. Wolong is an action RPG, similar kind of gear setup that we've been used to since Neo 1, but the main mechanic here is managing this meter called Spirit. And to build this up, you gotta consistently stay on the aggressive, landing hits, while doing perfectly timed deflects to gain the upper hand in the battle, which then lets you cash in that meter for multiple powerful attacks to continue this pressure. Wild stuff, but it's great. Okay, square is your main attack. Depending on which weapon you use, it's going to be different. The amount of hits it does, how fast it is, or how far the reach is. There's also no delay stuff, no holding back or forward with the left thumbstick. To get other options like stingers and all that, this is standard attack with basic options. But it still plays a very important role, and that's because it gives positive spirit, which is used for everything. Triangle isn't a heavy attack like you would expect, where you'll combo into it at different moments to reach unique enders. It's just a single, powerful, guard-piercing hyper armor move called the Spirit Attack. This will do a lot of spirit damage on enemies and destroy their max spirit gauge as well, which all leads up to how break and stagger them sooner each and every time it's landed. And when they're down and defenseless, can do a powerful fatal strike as a reward for staying on top of them. Now, the trade-off or downside to make sure you use this sparingly is having it cost a lot of your spirit, sending your meter far left or back to neutral, which gives up the cushion of excess spirit to use for our defenses or other actions. Speaking of that, onto defenses. Out 1 is your guard. It'll block 100% physical damage, so no chip, and it will prevent any damage coming your way. But the trade-off is that it drastically sends your spirit meter far left, which means you'll set yourself up to be in a dangerous spot to be guard broken. So blocking is great to do when you have the meter to do so, but continuously relying on this very good guard will be punished. Now onto the game's go-to skill-based defensive option, the deflect on circle. You do a quick sidestep towards that direction you point with the left thumbstick, but keep in mind, this negatively affects your spirit. So you can mash this out if you want, but you will really feel the drawbacks if you heavily rely on it too much. So just like the guard, we have very powerful and useful tools, but are meant to be used with intent. But alright, timing this correctly will redirect the enemy's attack, leaving them wide open to be hit afterwards. It also lowers their max spirit gauge, the spirit damage, and you'll gain positive spirit for yourself to use however you want. So this gains spirit from landing your basic attacks to deflecting theirs, gains all this meter to let you toss out a more damaging spirit attack to then stagger them. Now you can see the loop here. Okay, you can do this deflect to bladed weapons, of course, enemies who swing their limbs, or even projectiles like bombs or arrows, even magic as well, or objects in the stage like these rolling logs. You can even deflect attacks behind you or even back to back. Now deflects are the only go-to option when you see an enemy glow red. This is an unblockable attack called a critical blow. It'll usually do massive damage to your health and will lower your morale by 1 entire level. But if you deflect it successfully, it'll do a ton of spirit damage to that enemy, usually staggering them, and will give you a ton of spirit to follow up with. So yeah, this deflect is extremely powerful because it has this wide range of uses. Just need to know how and when to use it. Gotta react to enemy patterns and not mash haphazardly. Oh yeah, double tapping will have you roll. Good to create space, and it actually has solid iframes on it. Won't deflect attacks, but with its extra spirit costs, it does get you out of a tough spot pretty easy. But okay, we're not done yet, because if you press R1 in circle to switch your equipped weapon while doing this deflect. So this will do a weapon swap, deflect, automatic, counterattack, all in one press. It's pretty stylish and good to use when you know it's the end of an enemy's combo. Okay, one Final note before we're done, you can not cancel attacks with guard or deflect. Everything is committal and you gotta think about what you toss out. It's actually not too bad here since your attacks are pretty fast as it is. And honestly, I couldn't really tell myself that they didn't cancel till a few hours in when I actually sat down to test it, because everything just felt so responsive. I just figured things were canceling when I wanted them to. But yeah, just gotta keep that in mind. The game is reactionary heavy, but still gotta be deliberate with your options. Okay, our HUD. This green bar is health, of course. And underneath this is the game's main meter mechanic to manage, Spirit. This middle bar shows the momentum of the battle pretty much. So after every base attack you land, it'll add to it, and after successful deflects, it'll put your Spirit in the positive as well. But your Spirit will be lowered when you take a direct hit, if you guard enemy attacks, when you dodge, when you use weapons' unique powerful moves, or use spells. And if you mismanage this meter and let it reach to the very left, getting hit will put you in a staggered state, which leaves you wide open as it slowly refills itself. So yeah, this shows if you have the situation under control, which rewards you by letting you toss out more powerful options, or if things get a bit too much for you and let things get out of hand, you'll lose control of your character as a result. Now this number above these meters is your morale rank. It's pretty much your power level in that stage. So as you land attacks, get fatal strikes, get deflects, and take enemies out, it'll all go towards to increasing it. Now I like this for a lot of reasons. It's a way to equalize the player and enemy strength, since they also have morale levels to them too, most times higher than yours. Now because your morale level is lower, you will feel that power difference they have, making them a threat no matter what. So this stops people who summon for every encounter, or grind their character to oblivion, hoping to bulldoze their way through with no thought. Quick note, I actually really do like the leveling up system here, but yeah, we'll get there in a bit. So, this morale level incentivizes you to actually fight every enemy and explore to find these checkpoints, which is guarded by a powerful enemy that takes skill to take down because they usually have way higher morale level than you. But again, gives a boost to your morale once you clear the area. So to be good at this game, gotta have skills and be familiar with the tools. It's not just a number based thing, putting on big number gear or farming up levels or getting the biggest group. It's instead all about knowing the main mechanic of deflecting and managing your Spirit, knowing enemy timings and animations, and knowing when to attack or not. It's all balance. And you can't rely on overpowered magic or spells to fight from afar either, because access to these are locked behind a morale level threshold. So you need to be good at the game first with the base level mechanics to use things that give wild buffs or allow you to fight from afar. So you gotta actually play the game first before you get to that stuff, which I like they made it this way. Because you earned it. It's not a free win button. Yeah, you can tell I'm not a fan of the over-reliance of magic playstyle. Anyways, let's move on. While holding R1, pressing square or triangle will toss out your weapon's unique move called Martial Arts. And to use them, it costs some of your Spirit. These attacks are linked to what weapon you have equipped, so they can't be swapped out for something else. But they pierce through enemies' guards, and they're good combo extenders, or just a great way to punish blocking enemies. And these cost way less than the Spirit attack, which can reset you entirely. So these martial arts let you keep Spirit to work with afterwards, but are a great way to open your enemy up. We have summons as well. So once this meter on the right fills, you get to summon with triangle and circle to call them out doing their unique attack, or square and X to give a buff for you and your allies if you have them. And you unlock more as you go through the game and beating bosses. Now just like the past Team Ninja games as of late, they're not just high octane action games, but they're RPGs as well. So you can pick your choice of weapon, straight swords, dual blades, spears, halberds, and more. Got armor too, of course, that you'll find everywhere. And if you have an entire set, you get extra passive buffs for matching. And speaking of that, every piece of gear has their own little percent boost passive increases as well. I gain more Spirit per hit, some elemental resistance up, gain more chi per kill, and so on. These are useful, but don't really play a part till late game NG+, from my experience with these RPG Team Ninja games. But some advice: don't be too crazy with going all in with the big numbers for defense. You gotta look at your equipment weight, because having too much on you will push yourself to be in a heavier weight class, shown by these colors: green, yellow, and orange, for over encumbered pretty much. Now it's good to be at least in yellow, because the heavier you are, the more spirit it'll cost to dodge and deflect, because it takes more energy to move around, right? So just look out for that at least. If all these armor and number stuff is a little much, but if you're used to this and want to take it more seriously, you can get crazy with builds and save presets and all that. But again, the numbers game of equipment weight does affect your meter management, which will be seen in each and every moment in combat. Just keep that in mind. And now the character stats, like I mentioned earlier, I really like what they did here. For one, it's straightforward. Just 5 options. They're clear and not overly complex with choice in what you want. And they all focus primarily on your spirit meter and how it's affected by any given situation. You're not just going to go big numbers to one-shot things, making it an easy ride. These choices actually help and work with the game's main mechanics. So as you take out enemies, you'll gain Chi, the Amrita basically, from Neo. With this, you can increase a stat. Wood raises max HP and determines how much spirit is lost when you are hit directly. Fire will increase how much spirit is gained with a single attack you land, filling it up a lot faster with less hits basically. And it lessens how much a weapon's martial arts cost. Earth raises your max equipment load, which allows you to equip heavier armor with less of the negative drawbacks. And it increases the amount of spirit gained after successful deflect. This one is my go-to picks since it gets a lot of use for sure. Metal helps keep that meter high for longer and lowers magic costs. I didn't personally care for this one since I don't use magic. I actually never unlocked a single magic yet either. Plus, when you're constantly attacking and deflecting everything, there's no need to help extend the timer of your momentum before it gradually resets to neutral. If you're on top of things, it'll always stay full. And we know how this setup works. Get limited use heal items, go to these checkpoints to get them back, and please go to items and look out for these two. They increase your max limit on how much of these heals you can carry. I had the starter 3 heals for the majority of the game. It wasn't bad, but the extra heals I could have had, you know. Alright, onto enemies. You'll see a tiger who'll attack 5 times consecutively, then do a body slam. Ninjas who do an unblockable attack, and once deflected, will jump back and do another unblockable attack, having a rally go on. Various amount of weapon specialists who put up a nice fight. Even the stone soldiers from Neo are here. There's a few more, and enemies have switched up to the patterns too, but this video is going long enough. But yeah, for sure there's already a solid spread of enemies for you to take on, and they're pretty great to fight. Now enemies and bosses have the spirit gauge as well to show how close they are to be staggered. Can add to it with regular hits, spirit attacks, martial arts, spells, deflects, and destroying the weak spots. Will all contribute to lowering their max spirit gauge, making it easier to stagger them to open them up for the fatal strike. Get close, press triangle to do that attack on a staggered enemy, and the more positive spirit you have before you do this attack, the more damage you'll do with that punish, because you'll cash in all that spirit, resetting both you and the enemy back to neutral. So the more you can be consistent and land hits and in the right places with the powerful options, all while deflecting their attempts to hit you, it'll all help just keep you in the positive spirit, to keep that high momentum, which gives you stronger options to toss out, since you have the extra wiggle room without worrying about being staggered. And that's all along. There's just so many interweaving, layered mechanics that help build each other up, creating such an involved action game. It's Team Ninja. What'd you expect? This is exactly what makes them so great at what they do. They made another well thought out title where skill and mastery of its mechanics is encouraged and heavily rewarded. Explore to fight, most times use your checkpoints to take on more challenging encounters. Just great enemy design that leads into fun back and forths. There's over-the-top bosses with great patterns, having to use the game's established mechanics to have these great 1v1s. And yeah, there's so much good here, and that's why Team Ninja is number 1. So if you want a game where gameplay comes first, and it's just satisfying and rewarding to play and learn, well, here you go. Play Wolong.